Hey guys, it's Dezi. Welcome back to the channel, and you're in the place to be if you love all things magical, mystical, and mysterious. Today is a really super awesome video. I was scrolling through Reddit and looking at America's most haunted places and legends, and it got me thinking, what are the most haunted places in Canada? You know, since I live here, I know there's a lot of places, especially in the city that I live in, that are uber haunted. And I know when everything is back to normal again and we are able to venture out into the world and explore, these are the places that have been on my bucket list for a while. And I scrolled through my phone and looked at a few places that I want to investigate, and I decided I'm going to do a little bit of a feature on them on Canada's most haunted locations. So I'm super excited about this. The first one is actually centered in Calgary. There's going to be a few of them here in Calgary, Alberta, where I live. And this one is actually called the Dean House. It was built in 1906 in its original location and then moved in 1926 to where it now stands across from Fort Calgary, which is another location that I want to go visit super badly. There's so many creepy, spooky tales that go on in there. I can't wait to take you guys on an investigation there either. Now, when investigators go into this place at the Dean House, their electronics turn off. That signals a lot of energy consumption, which is something, usually there's a lot of energy there who's trying to manifest itself to you, and it borrows the energy from our electronics. So that happens there. A lot of the photos that are taken are blurry and inconclusive, and it's actually rumored that this place is a vortex. And I am fascinated by vortexes, and I cannot wait to go investigate there, do a couple EVP sessions, and see, because I've never actually been near a vortex as far as I know. So I'm super excited to check this one out. According to those who frequent the Dean House, a disconnected phone will actually ring, followed by the smell of cigar smoke in the air. That is super creepy and gives me chills. Another thing that I just read about is the blood stain in the attic that frequently changes sizes and color. So that is super creepy. It just reminds me of horror film vibes. I wonder if this is true. I really definitely want to check it out and see, go back a few times and see if this blood stain actually changes and moves and changes color and size. Bloodstain sits outside of a closet that, no matter what the staff does, cannot keep locked. They keep trying to keep this closet locked for their own purposes, and no matter what they do to keep this door locked and shut, it keeps opening itself. And it said that any objects that were left inside the closet the next day will be found tossed outside of the closet all over the floor. The Dean House is said to be possibly the most haunted house in the entire city, and I wonder if that's true. I can't wait to start investigating to see if that's real. There are sightings of a man who smokes a pipe, so that could actually explain the smoke that you smell after the telephone that is unplugged rings. It could be perhaps a footprint of past times and is just replaying itself, or is it a live actual haunting? He wants you to be aware of him through the smell of his cigar smoke or his pipe smoke. There are also sightings of an Aboriginal man telling trespassers to leave his sacred land. And I cannot find much more about this, but I hope I can find more, and I'll do a part 2 on it if I can find more on this legend. I'm finding it super fascinating, and I hope when I do go there we can find a few full body apparitions or maybe a few voices, because this place seems super active. While others will hear laughter and talking, the home has seen stabbings, deadly accidents, and suicides over the years. The house was built in 1906 for the superintendent of the Royal Northwest Mounted Police. His name was Richard Burton Dean. It became a boarding house for several decades up until 1973, and over the years has developed the reputation for being the most haunted place in all of Canada. During its time as a boarding house, a man was fatally injured after falling down the staircase. A young woman jumped to her death from the second-story window, and a young man was shot to death on the porch. In 1933, a father and son were residents at the Dean House. The boy was an epileptic, and because of this and his illness, unfortunately, he was picked on and bullied by his peers. The son, suffering from depression, committed suicide in the attic. And I wonder if this is the attic where the bloodstain is that we read earlier. And there is actually a story here that I'll read a little bit of more recent murders that happened in the house. These are two well-documented deaths that occurred in more recent years. These are the murder and suicide death of Irma and Roderick Umberville in 1952. Mrs. Umberville was repeatedly stabbed and strangled by her husband, who then committed suicide. All of these were done in front of their two children. This tragedy took place in the apartment that used to be the superintendent's dean's main floor office. This apartment is also where the previous owner, Alex Brotherton, lived and died of natural causes. So there's been a lot of death and horror that's happened in this house just from these few stories. In 1973, the house became host to gallery and studio for local artists, and finally in 1978 was designated a registered provincial historical site. The first reports of paranormal activity that actually came from the Dean House started in the 1970s and early 1980s. In the 1990s, a local TV station, CFCM, actually brought out a psychic, and they brought her out to the Dean House, and the psychic picked up on two different spirits. One being of a young woman on the second floor, and two of a young man gunned down on the porch. The ghost of a Native American man has been seen on numerous occasions in the Dean House and around its grounds, and one such occasion was actually of a woman who was looking for clues in the basement of the Dean House during one of the murder mystery events that the house holds. According to the witness, the man screamed at her that she was on sacred ground and to get out. And the supervisor at the restaurant at the Dean House has heard on many occasions on the upper floor a piano being played, and upon investigating, there is nothing to be found. Never anyone to be found, and the music stops just as she enters the room. On one occasion, she actually stated that a cold blast of air shot past her as she entered the room, and the temperature in the room dropped severely. A former manager named Robert stated that he had left his bag on a shelf across the restaurant, and it levitated up and floated across the room and landed softly by his feet. And this had happened when he had worked alone at Dean House. And that stain that happened up in the attic keeps reappearing no matter how many times it's been cleaned, and I find that uber creepy. Not only does it change its shape and size on the floor and its color, but it also keeps reappearing no matter how many times the floor has been cleaned. That just gives me horror film vibes, and it creeps me out so bad. So that is the video for today, all about the Dean House. It's super spooky, and I cannot wait to take you guys on an investigation there when I'm able to. Let me know down below if there are any places that you're aware of about in Canada that are super haunted or hotbeds for paranormal activity. I'm always learning, and I would love to do a little bit of coverage on them if I can look into it. So if there's anything you guys want me to do a feature on, let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoy my videos but are not yet subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification so you don't miss out, since I do post multiple times a week. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay with you guys.